The first thing they noticed was the mop. Not the man holding it, though he was impossible to miss if you bothered to look, but the mop itself, stitched with a strip of faded blue cloth near the handle, like an old flag that refused to surrender. The new cleaner carried it as if it were a staff, upright, steady, the way a soldier might carry a banner through a defeated town. He arrived on a Monday morning at 6:12 a.m., when the glass doors of Meridian Synergy Solutions still reflected the dark, and the lobby lights cast their sterile glow across marble that had never met a scuff it couldn't hide. His name, according to the HR form pinned to the break room board, was Mr. Gideon Wren. Age, 68. Role, facility support, temporary. Temporary, they assumed, meant disposable. The security guard at the desk glanced up and down at him, his black skin worn into a rich, deep tone by years of sun and weather, his shoulders broad but softened by time, his hair a steel gray halo, cut short and neat. "You here for the cleaning?" the guard asked, the question already answered by the bucket and the mop and the way Mr. Wren's shoes had been polished to a dull shine. "Yes, sir," Mr. Wren said. His voice was calm, warm, and old in a way that made you think of doors that close softly. "I'm here for work." The guard handed him a temporary badge without looking too closely at the name. "Basement. Supplies are down there." "Thank you," Mr. Wren said, and he walked past the desk with the gentleness of someone who didn't need to announce himself to be real. On the mezzanine level, where Meridian's management had offices with frosted doors and framed mission statements, the day began like any other. Phones buzzed. Espresso machines hissed. A projector hummed somewhere. And then, like a pebble dropped into a pond, Mr. Wren's presence started sending ripples outward. It began with Lila, the receptionist, who saw him cross the lobby with his bucket and thought, vaguely, of her grandfather. She smiled at him because that's what she did. She smiled at everyone. But as the morning staff flowed in, the smiles shifted to smirks. At 7:48, Trent Hollis, assistant operations manager, arrived with his jacket draped like a cape and his laughter already loaded in his throat. Trent had the kind of confidence that came from never having been corrected in his life. He spotted Mr. Wren wiping fingerprints off the chrome handrail near the stairs. Well, Trent said, loud enough for people to hear, because being heard was Trent's oxygen. "We got ourselves a new janitor." Mr. Wren turned slightly, meeting Trent's eyes without flinching. "Good morning." Trent glanced down at the mop. Did they run out of robots or something? "I thought this place was cutting edge." A couple of people chuckled, the easy, low chuckle of coworkers who didn't want to be the odd one out. Mr. Wren's mouth lifted, not into a smile, not into a frown, into something else. A shape of patience. "I'm here to do what needs doing," he said. Trent waved a hand. "Just don't do what needs doing in my hallway. I don't like the smell of bleach near my office." Mr. Wren nodded once. Understood. Trent walked off, satisfied, and the laughter followed him like perfume. By lunchtime, the jokes had evolved into a kind of office sport. "Did you see the new cleaner?" a marketing associate whispered near the elevator. "He's like ancient." "Maybe they hired him because he's too old to steal office supplies," someone else said. A third voice joined in. "Or because he's invisible. Old guys like that, nobody looks at them." Nobody in that cluster noticed that Mr. Wren was 10 feet away, wiping down a row of waiting chairs. His motions were measured and careful. He never rushed. He never paused to stare. Yet his attention seemed to touch everything. The scuffed edge of a baseboard, the fray in a carpet seam, the fingerprint smudge on a glass door. He noticed the building the way a doctor noticed a patient. He also noticed people, not in a nosy way, in a human way, a way that made the younger employees, if they met his gaze, look away as if embarrassed by their own faces. Only one person approached him without a joke ready on her tongue. She was a junior analyst named Marisol Vega, who wore her lanyard like a weight and carried a notebook filled with scribbled numbers and quiet worry. She came down the lobby around 2 p.m. on Monday with a headache that had been sitting behind her eyes for weeks. She found Mr. Wren near the potted ficus, cleaning the water stains off the planter. "Hi," she said, because she couldn't bear the silence anymore. He looked up. "Afternoon. I'm Marisol," she said. "I don't think we've met." No, he said, but it's good to meet you. She hesitated, then said the thing she didn't usually say aloud. People are being kind of rude. Mr. Wren dipped his cloth into his bucket, wrung it out with strong hands. People are often rude to what they think doesn't matter. Do you? She stopped. She didn't want to ask if he was used to it. That felt rude too, like assuming pain had become his home. Mr. Wren finished the sentence for her. Do I mind? She nodded. He wiped the planter again, slow and even. I've been called worse by better. Marisol blinked. That's a line. Mr. Wren's eyes softened. It's a truth. Then, as if it were the most normal thing in the world, he asked, How long you been carrying that headache? Marisol froze. How did you? You keep rubbing your temple, he said, and you look like you're trying to solve a problem in your sleep. Her shoulders dropped a fraction, as if her body recognized permission to be tired. 2 months, she admitted. It's been intense lately. He nodded. Drink water. Eat something that isn't sugar. And, if you can, sit outside for 5 minutes. Sunlight helps the mind remember it's part of the world. Marisol almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so simple. You sound like my abuela. Wise woman, he asked. The wisest, Marisol said. Then listen to her, Mr. Wren said, and returned to his work. Marisol walked away feeling strangely steadier. She didn't understand why. On Tuesday, the ridicule got sharper. It was as if the office, having tasted cruelty, wanted more. At 9:15, a regional manager named Bethany Klein walked out of her office, holding a travel mug, and saw Mr. Wren mopping a small spill near the copy room. She paused. Excuse me, she said, in the tone of someone who believed she was doing charity simply by speaking. Mr. Wren stopped his mop. Yes, ma'am. Bethany's gaze skated over him like he was a piece of furniture. The women's restroom on 5 is out of hand. It smells honestly like a gas station. I need it handled immediately. I'll be there, Mr. Wren said. Bethany's nose wrinkled. And can you not drip water everywhere? This is a professional environment. Yes, ma'am, Mr. Wren said again. Bethany turned, satisfied by obedience, and marched away. Behind her, Trent leaned against a door frame and said, Hey, don't worry, Bethany. Our new veteran cleaner probably fought in the Civil War. He can handle a little restroom. Laughter erupted, louder this time. Someone even clapped. Mr. Wren's face did not change. He simply pushed the mop across the tile, clearing the spill until the floor was clean enough to reflect their shoes. Trent bent slightly toward a coworker and added, I bet he can't even read the warning signs. Probably thinks the elevator is a magic box. More laughter. Marisol, passing by, felt her stomach tighten. She wanted to say something, but her courage was a candle in wind. She lowered her eyes and kept walking, hating herself a little for it. Later that afternoon, something odd happened. It started with a meeting. Meridian's management had scheduled a strategic alignment session at 3 p.m. in Conference Room B, a room with a long glass table and chairs that never seemed comfortable. The session was led by the Director of Operations, Raymond Pike, a man whose smile could switch off like a light. Raymond was famous for 2 things: his ability to speak for 15 minutes without saying anything, and his talent for making problems vanish by making people vanish. At 2:58, employees filed into the conference room. Raymond stood at the head of the table, adjusting his tie as if preparing for a photo. Trent arrived late, as always, swaggering in with a grin. Don't start without me, he said. Raymond gave him a tight smile. We wouldn't dream of it. At 3:07, as Raymond clicked to the first slide, the projector flickered. The screen went black. Then it flashed, showed a distorted image, and went black again. Raymond frowned. Is IT here? A few heads turned toward the door. No one moved. Raymond tapped the laptop. This is ridiculous. He leaned down, jiggled the cable. The projector flickered again. At that exact moment, the door opened quietly and Mr. Wren stepped in. He didn't announce himself. He simply walked to the wall outlet and looked at the plug. You can't just... Raymond snapped, then stopped when he remembered who he thought Mr. Wren was. He changed his tone, like someone switching from barking at a dog to shooing a fly. This is a meeting. Mr. Wren didn't glance at the table full of executives. He focused on the outlet and the cord. The plug is loose. The prongs are bent. Raymond exhaled sharply. Fine. Fix it then. Mr. Wren crouched, his knees cracking softly, and slid the plug out. He examined it, then reached into his pocket. Not a rag, not a spare key. Something small and metallic. A tiny tool. With quick, practice motions, he adjusted the prongs, tightened the connection at the outlet faceplate, and inserted the plug again. The projector lit up instantly, bright and stable. A murmur passed around the table. Mr. Wren stood, wiped his hands on a cloth, and nodded once. Should be steady now. Raymond stared for a beat. Where did you learn that? Mr. Wren met his gaze. Life, he said simply. Then he left, closing the door softly behind him. Inside, Trent let out a low whistle. Okay, Grandpa's got some tricks. A few people chuckled, but it sounded different now. Less sharp, more uncertain. Raymond cleared his throat and returned to his slide deck. But for the rest of the meeting, his eyes flicked once toward the door, as if he didn't like the idea that the cleaner could fix something he couldn't. That night, after Meridian emptied and the lights dimmed, Mr. Wren stayed late. He did not stay because he was slow. He stayed because he wanted to listen. The building, after hours, had a different voice. The vents breathed. The elevators sighed. The security cameras whirred. And the people who remained, management, mostly, believed they were alone. Raymond Pike was in his office with Bethany Klein, the two of them leaning over a folder of documents. You're sure this will pass? Bethany asked. Raymond's smile was thin. Legal will bury it in paperwork. The board doesn't care about a few complaints. They care about numbers. Bethany tapped the folder. But if the auditor... Raymond cut her off. The auditor is a formality. We show them what we want to show them. Bethany's voice dropped. And the staff. Raymond shrugged. Staff are replaceable. Always have been. Outside the office, the hallway carpet swallowed footsteps. Mr. Wren's mop moved silently along the baseboards, as if it were only chasing dust. But his ears were open. He did not interrupt. He did not enter. He didn't need to. On Wednesday morning, Meridian buzzed with an unusual tension. An email had been sent at 8:03 a.m., company-wide. Subject, executive site visit, today, 10 a.m. Body, please ensure all departments are prepared. Dress code, business formal. Conference room, A reserved. Nobody knew who was coming, only that it was executive. And in Meridian, that word meant danger. Raymond Pike's footsteps grew sharper. Bethany's voice became tighter. Trent's jokes got louder, as if humor could ward off consequences. At 9:20, in the kitchen area, Trent found a group gathered near the coffee machine. Mr. Wren was there too, emptying a trash bin. Trent pointed at him. Hey you, cleaner. Mr. Wren looked up. Yes. Trent's grin sharpened. Make sure the floors sparkle today, all right? We got important people coming. Wouldn't want them to trip over your, old man slowness. Someone snickered. Trent leaned closer, lowering his voice in a mock whisper that everyone could hear. Actually, if you see any executives, don't talk to them. They might mistake you for a liability. Laughter again. A bit forced now, but still laughter. Mr. Wren's gaze held Trent's, steady as an anchored boat. The floors will be clean, he said, and I don't trip easily. Trent blinked, as if the calmness annoyed him more than defiance would have. He opened his mouth to reply, but then Marisol spoke, quietly, surprisingly. Trent, she said, leave him alone. The room went still for a second. Trent turned toward her with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Marisol, wow, you're defending the janitor now? That's adorable. Marisol's cheeks burned. He's a person. Trent laughed. Sure, and I'm a saint. Everyone back to work. Okay? We got executives coming. He walked away, satisfied with his own performance. Mr. Wren watched him go, expression unreadable. Then he turned to Marisol. Thank you, he said. Marisol swallowed. I should have said something earlier. Mr. Wren nodded once. You did today. At 9:58, conference room, A filled with management. Raymond sat at the head of the table, his tie perfect, his smile prepared like a mask. Bethany sat beside him, folder in hand. Trent positioned himself where he thought cameras would see him best. Several other managers murmured among themselves, trying to sound relaxed. Outside, regular employees hovered at their desks, pretending to work while straining to listen. At 10:01, the elevator dinged. Footsteps approached. The door to conference room A opened, and in walked Mr. Gideon Wren. Not with a mop this time. He wore the same simple suit he'd worn on Monday. Dark gray, clean lines, modest but well-tailored. His tie was a deep navy. His shoes were polished. In his hand, he carried a slim leather folder. Behind him walked two people, a woman in a crisp blazer with a tablet and a man with a security badge clipped to his belt. The room froze. Raymond half stood, confusion on his face. "Excuse me, this room is reserved." Mr. Wren stepped forward with the calm of a man who belonged in any room he entered. "It is reserved," he said. "For me." Bethany's mouth opened, then closed. Trent laughed, one sharp bark, then stopped when nobody joined him. Mr. Wren set the leather folder on the table and looked around, taking in the faces like he was reading a report. Raymond recovered first, forcing a smile. "Mr. Wren, was it? I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. Facilities is exactly where I've been," Mr. Wren said. His voice was still warm, still calm, but now it carried a different weight, like a gavel wrapped in velvet. The woman behind him stepped forward and placed a tablet on the table. "Good morning," she said. "My name is Sylvia Hahn. I'm counsel for the board." The man beside her nodded once. "Caleb Rourke, corporate security." The word board hit the room like a drop plate. Raymond's smile twitched. "The board? I wasn't informed." Mr. Wren leaned forward slightly. "That's because you weren't meant to be." Silence. Every breath in the room sounded loud. Trent tried again, voice wavering. Wait, what is this? Is this some kind of prank?" Mr. Wren looked at him, and for the first time in 3 days, his expression shifted into something like sorrow. "No," Mr. Wren said. "It's an audit." Raymond's face paled. "We had an audit scheduled next quarter." Sylvia Hahn tapped the tablet. It was moved up due to an anonymous report containing financial irregularities, labor violations, and documented harassment. Bethany's hand shook slightly as she clutched her folder. Raymond forced a laugh that sounded like it hurt. "This is absurd. We're on a tight ship here." Mr. Wren opened the leather folder. Inside were printed pages, neatly stacked. He slid one across the table toward Raymond. Raymond glanced down. His eyes widened. It was a transcript of Raymond's conversation from Tuesday night. His voice, Bethany's voice, every word typed out with timestamps. Raymond's throat bobbed. "Ow!" Mr. Wren slid another page toward Bethany. She read it, and the color drained from her face. Trent leaned forward, trying to see. "What is that?" Mr. Wren slid a third page toward Trent. Trent picked it up with a scoff that crumbled halfway through. His eyes darted across the text. It was a summary of complaints, employee names redacted, dates, incidents. Notes about Trent's behavior. Mocking, intimidation, retaliation disguised as performance coaching. Trent's mouth went dry. This is... Mr. Wren's gaze moved across the table like a slow spotlight. "For 3 days," he said, "I've been in this building before most of you arrived and after most of you left." Raymond tried to stand taller. "You were hired as a cleaner." "I was placed here as a cleaner," Mr. Wren corrected. "There's a difference." Sylvia Hahn's voice cut through. "Mr. Wren is the chair of Meridian's Board Oversight Committee. He is also the majority stakeholder through Wren Holdings." The room tilted, at least emotionally. Trent's paper slipped from his fingers onto the table. That's not. Mr. Wren spoke again, gentle but unyielding. "Do you know why I came myself?" he asked. No one answered. Mr. Wren nodded, as if he expected that. "When reports reached the board," he continued, "they were polished, sanitized, full of phrases like isolated incident and miscommunication." He leaned forward. "But the people who wrote those reports did not feel what the employees here feel. They didn't breathe the air. They didn't walk these hallways." His eyes swept to Raymond. "They didn't see how you treat those you consider beneath you." Raymond swallowed. "Mr. Wren, with respect." "I'm not interested in respect," Mr. Wren said quietly. "I'm interested in truth." Sylvia tapped her tablet again, and the screen displayed a list Dates, numbers, flagged transactions. Raymond's eyes flickered to it, then away, like it burned. Over the last 2 years, Sylvia said, expenses have been inflated. Contracts steered to vendors with personal ties. Overtime hours cut while workload increased. And multiple HR complaints were buried. Bethany's lips trembled. I didn't. Mr. Wren raised a hand. You did, he said, not cruelly but plainly. Or you helped it happen by staying quiet. Bethany's eyes filled with tears. I was trying to keep my job. Mr. Wren's voice softened. So were the people you stepped on. Trent finally found his voice, panic sharp in it. This is insane. You can't just, what? You mop floors for 3 days and now you're firing people. Mr. Wren looked at him for a long moment. Son, he said, and the word was not affectionate, just factual. You laughed at an old man holding a mop because it made you feel taller. Trent's face reddened. I didn't. Mr. Wren held up the leather folder and flipped it open again. Inside was a small device. A recorder. Trent's eyes widened. Mr. Wren didn't gloat. He didn't need to. When you speak to people like they're trash, Mr. Wren said, you forget the building hears you. The walls remember. The cameras see. The floor you walk on carries your echo. He closed the folder. I've heard enough, he said. Raymond's voice cracked. Mr. Wren, please. We can talk about. No, Mr. Wren said. He turned to Sylvia. Proceed. Sylvia nodded, professional as stone. Effective immediately, Raymond Pike is terminated for cause. Bethany Klein is terminated for cause. Trent Hollis is terminated for cause. A sharp inhale went around the room, like the building itself was shocked. Sylvia continued, reading names, department managers, team leads, HR personnel who'd ignored complaints. Each name landed like a stamp. When she finished, she looked up. Security will escort you to collect personal items. Access to systems has already been revoked. Caleb Rourke stepped forward, expression neutral. If you'll come with me. Raymond's chair scraped back violently. This is a coup. Mr. Wren's eyes remained steady. No, he said. This is accountability. Raymond's face twisted with rage and humiliation. You think you're better than us? Mr. Wren tilted his head slightly. I think I'm responsible, he said. There's a difference. Raymond opened his mouth to spit another insult, but Caleb's presence made him hesitate. He slammed his folder shut and stormed toward the door. Bethany stood slowly, shaking, and followed. Trent lingered, frozen between anger and fear. He looked at Mr. Wren with disbelief. You set us up. Mr. Wren's expression finally hardened. No, he said. I showed you a mirror. Trent's jaw clenched. We'll sue. Sylvia Hahn didn't even blink. You can try. Trent's shoulders sagged, and for a brief second, he looked younger, smaller, like a boy caught stealing. Then he turned and walked out. The door closed. Silence returned, thick and strange. The remaining managers, those not named, sat stiffly, afraid to breathe. Mr. Wren looked at them, and the sorrow returned to his face. I didn't come here to destroy this place, he said quietly. I came to save it. One of the managers, a woman named Denise, swallowed hard. Sir, we didn't know. Mr. Wren's gaze rested on her. You didn't know? He echoed. Or you didn't ask? Denise's eyes dropped. Mr. Wren's voice softened again. There is still work to do, and it starts with how you see people. He turned towards Sylvia. Call a staff meeting, he said. All employees. Noon. Sylvia nodded. Mr. Wren stepped out of conference room, walking into the hallway where employees had gathered like shadows. They stared at him, wide-eyed. Marisol stood among them, her heart hammering. Mr. Wren walked toward her first. She didn't know why. Maybe because she'd spoken up, maybe because he'd noticed her headache, maybe because the world sometimes offered small mercies. He stopped in front of her and smiled, this time truly. You all right? He asked. Marisol laughed weakly. Are you really? He nodded. Yes. Her eyes filled with tears, partly from relief, partly from embarrassment at her own assumptions. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know. Mr. Wren's smile didn't fade. Most people don't, he said. At noon, the entire staff gathered in the largest open area on the 3rd floor, an auditorium-like space used for quarterly pep talks and awkward holiday parties. People stood shoulder to shoulder, whispering, eyes darting. Mr. Wren walked to the front and stood behind a simple podium. No fancy slides, no corporate slogans, just a man. He looked out at them for a long moment. The room quieted. When I was young, he began, I worked my first job sweeping floors in a textile warehouse. Some people blinked, surprised. Others leaned in. I was 14, Mr. Wren said. My mother needed help with rent. So I swept, and I listened. He paused. Men in suits walked past me like I wasn't there. Some were kind. Most were not. A few took pride in cruelty. A hush settled deeper. Mr. Wren continued. Years later, I started my first company with a borrowed truck and a toolbox. I learned what it meant to build something out of nothing. I learned what it meant to have employees who trusted you with their lives because they trusted you with their time. He rested his hands on the podium. Meridian was built on that idea. The dignity of work. The belief that everyone matters. His eyes moved across faces, young, old, tired, hopeful. Somewhere along the way, he said, that belief got buried under ego and fear. He nodded slowly. Today, you saw what happens when the people at the top forget what the bottom feels like. A murmur passed through the crowd. Mr. Wren raised a hand gently. I'm not here to punish the whole building, he said. I'm here to clean it properly. A few nervous laughs fluttered. Mr. Wren's eyes warmed. Yes, that was a cleaner joke, he admitted, and the room released a breath. Laughter more genuine this time. Then his face grew serious again. There will be changes, he said. Immediate ones. He held up a finger. First, a new HR leadership team. An outside hotline. Every complaint will be reviewed by independent counsel. Second finger. Second, overtime policies restored. Workload audits. No one should be doing the job of 3 people for the pay of 1. Third finger. Third, management training, not as a box to check, but as a standard for anyone who wants authority. He paused. Fourth, respect will not be optional. His voice firmed. If anyone here believes they are too important to treat someone else with basic decency, they can leave. This company will not be a home for arrogance. The room was so quiet you could hear the air system. Mr. Wren took a breath, and his tone softened. And finally, he said, I owe you an apology. People shifted, startled. I should not have needed to come here in disguise, he said. I should have known sooner. I should have listened better. He looked down briefly, then up again. But now I have listened, he said, and I have seen. He stepped away from the podium and walked along the edge of the stage area, closer to the crowd. I saw who laughed, he said, not accusing, just stating, and I saw who stayed quiet. Marisol's chest tightened. Mr. Wren's eyes found hers, and he held her gaze gently. I also saw who chose courage, he said. Marisol swallowed hard. Mr. Wren continued. Courage is not loud. Sometimes it's one sentence in a room full of fear. He returned to the podium and placed his hands on it again. We begin again, he said. A beat passed. Then, slowly, applause began. Not the forced corporate kind, but the kind that rises from somewhere honest. It grew, filling the room, spreading like warmth. Some people wiped their eyes. Some people simply stood taller. After the meeting, Meridian felt different, as if the air had been rearranged. On the 5th floor, where the women's restroom had once been neglected because it didn't matter to management, a professional cleaning crew arrived, not because someone complained, but because it was right. In the break room, someone replaced the stale coffee pods with fresh ones. Small things, symbolic things, but symbols mattered. Marisol returned to her desk, still dazed. A message popped up on her screen. Meeting request. Marisol Vega, 2:30 p.m., Office 12A. From Gideon Wren. Her stomach flipped. At 2:30, she stood outside Office 12, a door she'd never dared approach. She raised her hand to knock, then hesitated. Come in, Mr. Wren's voice called. Marisol stepped inside. The office was simple, not the flashy kind of executive space. A desk, 2 chairs, a bookshelf with worn spines, a framed photo of a younger Mr. Wren holding a baby in front of a modest house. Mr. Wren stood by the window, looking down at the city. He turned as she entered. Thank you for coming. Marisol's voice wobbled. Of course. Should I be worried? Mr. Wren smiled. Not unless you've been stealing money or bullying people. Marisol let out a breathy laugh. No. Sit, he said. She sat. Mr. Wren took the chair across from her, folding his hands. You spoke up yesterday, he said. Marisol felt heat rise to her face. It was small. It wasn't, Mr. Wren said. Small things change the direction of rivers. Marisol blinked. That's another line. He smiled. I've lived long enough to collect a few. Marisol's smile faded into seriousness. Why did you do it like this? Mr. Wren's gaze went distant for a moment. Because people perform when they know they're being watched, he said. They polish their speech. They put on their values. He leaned forward slightly. But the way a person treats someone they believe has no power, that's the truth. Marisol's throat tightened. I'm sorry for the way. Mr. Wren raised a hand. You're not the one who needs forgiveness, he said. But you're the kind of person this place needs. Marisol's eyes widened. Me? Mr. Wren nodded. You notice what's wrong, and you care. Marisol swallowed. I'm just trying to do my job. And yet, Mr. Wren said, you still found room to be human. He opened a drawer and pulled out a folder, thin, neat. I reviewed your performance, he said. Your numbers are strong. Your analyses are precise. You have potential. Marisol's pulse quickened. Okay. Mr. Wren slid the folder toward her. I'm creating a new internal team, he said. A workplace integrity and process improvement unit. Not HR, not compliance. Something that bridges the gap between what leadership promises and what employees experience. Marisol stared. You want me on it? I want you to help lead it, Mr. Wren said. Marisol's mouth opened, then closed. Sir, I'm not. You're not what? Mr. Wren asked gently. Old enough? Loud enough? Important enough? Marisol's eyes stung. Mr. Wren's voice softened. They taught you to feel small, he said. Don't carry their lessons into your future. Marisol blinked back tears. I don't know if I can. Mr. Wren leaned back, his gaze steady. You can, he said, and you won't be alone. Marisol took a shaky breath. Why me? Mr. Wren smiled slightly. Because you asked me if I minded when people were rude, he said. Most people only asked what I could clean. Marisol laughed through tears. I didn't even know who you were. Mr. Wren's eyes softened. That's why it mattered. Later that evening, as staff filtered out, the lobby lights glowed over floors that were clean in the ordinary way. No magic sparkle, no corporate performance. Mr. Wren stood near the front desk, holding the same mop with the faded blue cloth. Not because he needed a mop, but because he wanted to remember the weight of it. Lila, the receptionist, approached cautiously. Mr. Wren, she said. He turned. Yes. She fidgeted with her badge. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For the way people. Mr. Wren nodded. Thank you, he said. But don't carry other people's shame. Carry your own choices. Lila nodded, eyes wet. Okay. As she walked away, she glanced back at him, still holding the mop like a flag. The security guard, same one from Monday, looked up from his desk and finally truly looked at Mr. Wren. Sir, the guard said quietly, I had no idea. Mr. Wren smiled, a gentle curve. Most don't, he said. It's all right. The guard hesitated, then asked, Why'd you do it? Why not just send someone? Mr. Wren's gaze moved toward the glass doors, where the city lights flickered like distant stars. Because, he said softly, I wanted to know if this place still had a soul. He looked back at the guard, and I wanted to remind people that souls don't wear titles. The next morning, Thursday, Meridian opened to a new kind of silence, one that wasn't fear but possibility. Employees walked the halls differently. They held doors. They said good morning. They looked at the cleaners, at the guards, the receptionists, the interns, as if seeing them for the first time. Some changes were cosmetic, sure. New posters, new policies, new trainings. But the deeper change was quieter. It was a shift in gaze, a recognition. Trent Hollis would later tell people the story in a bitter tone, painting himself as a victim of a setup. Raymond Pike would blame politics. Bethany would retreat into the narrative that she'd been scared. But none of their stories could erase what happened in those 3 days. Then an old man with a mop walked through their arrogance like a lantern. That they laughed at him because they thought he couldn't touch them. That in the end, he didn't raise his voice. He simply raised a standard. And when he fired the entire management, he didn't do it with triumph. He did it with the solemn care of someone removing rot from a structure he intended to keep standing. On Friday, Marisol stepped in her new temporary office, small but hers. A sticky note waited on her desk. In neat handwriting, it read, "Never confuse power with worth, and never confuse quiet with weakness." No signature, but she knew. Marisol stared at it for a long time, then placed it carefully on the corner of her monitor where she'd see it every day. Outside, in the hallway, a cleaner pushed a cart. Someone held the door open for them. Someone said, "Hey, good morning." And the cleaner smiled because being seen, truly seen, was sometimes the cleanest thing a place could become. Down in the lobby, Mr. Gideon Wren walked in without a mop for the first time since Monday. He paused near the marble floor, looking at the reflection of the lights. The building hummed around him. It wasn't perfect now, but it was awake. He adjusted his cuff, took a breath, and stepped forward, not as a disguise, not as a test, but as himself. And if anyone still doubted the lesson, all they had to do was remember. 3 days. That's all it took for a man they dismissed to show them what they had become, and what they could be if they chose to see.